Hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on MisplacedStraws.com, where music comes to life. And my guest today is the frontman of one of the most exciting young American prog bands on the scene. Advent Horizon is about to release their fourth record called Falling Together on May 15th, and it really sees this band gel and come into their own. Here to talk about it, please welcome Rylee McDonald. Welcome.
Hey. Thanks for having me, Jeff. Good to talk to you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And now, for those who may not be familiar with Advent Horizon, can you give me the quick thumbnail history of the band and who joined you in the lineup?
Yeah, so we started out when I was in high school. My drummer and I have been buddies since we were 14, 15 years old, and we kind of bonded over a mutual obsession for Rush. And so we spent our high school career learning Rush songs, and at a certain point we realized, hey, we should actually make our own music, and thus Advent Horizon was born. There have been many lineups over the years. We've had a couple different bass players, a couple of different like utility guitar players, but the current lineup of the band has been solid since 2015 now, so it's been quite a while. So there's myself, vocals, guitar, songwriting, all that stuff. Our drummer Mike Lofgreen, our bass player Kason Wood, who also plays keys quite a bit on the new album, and then we have Grant Matheson, who is our utility guy. He does all the guitars, all the vocals, lots of key stuff that we need him to do. And then very recently, over the last 6 months, well, actually, over the last couple of years, my wife has kind of gradually become a member of the band. I don't know that there was any one point where we officially said, "Hey, will you join?" It's more of just we realized over the last several years that we need someone with a higher voice than mine, and she has a gorgeous voice. I've always like I met her through music. We met at an open mic. I've always been in love with her voice, and so it was kind of a natural choice to just have her join the fold. And yeah, that's the lineup now. Is the five of us.
Great. And now, before we kind of get into the meat of the record, I want to talk about sort of the sound and the musicality of it.
Sure.
This band, I think, has really grown with every record, but Falling Together to me is the sound of a band that found itself. I mean, the song sort of shifts seamlessly between melodic stuff into heavier stuff. You add that harsh vocal, but only in spots where it really leaves an impact. Does this feel like what you imagined Advent Horizon sounding like?
Yeah, I feel with this album more than I have ever felt with any of our past albums that I achieved the sound that I had in my head. As songwriters, when we're writing music, at least this is the way I am. When I'm writing something, I will play one guitar part in my on on my guitar as I'm writing it, but what I hear in my head is a whole symphony of other sounds surrounding that guitar part. And the pursuit of creating that symphony of sounds in real life is this everlasting battle as an artist that we are all striving to achieve. And I definitely feel like we've found it with this album. And a big part of that is the growth that we've had over our last several albums, especially the period over the last 3 or 4 years with A Cell to Call Home. We learned a lot from that album. And yeah, I knew with that album, with Cell to Call Home, that we had accomplished something beautiful, but I also knew when we released it, okay, I have this vision in my head of exactly where I want to take Advent Horizon next, and we achieved it. So, long answer for a short question, yes, I think we did it.
Now, the record itself, it starts off with this shot across the bow, the 19-minute In a Lone and Dreary World. It's the classic prog epic. And sometimes it could be a risk to start a record off with something that big. But with this
Yep.
record, I feel like it really sets up the rest of the record, both musically and lyrically. Was there a debate at all about starting off with this 19-minute epic?
There most certainly was. It was the we have a Discord channel with the band, so like a Discord chat group, and there's the band, and then kind of like a close circle of the friends and family that surround us, whose opinions we trust. And there was a debate for a couple of days that was many, 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 pages that you could scroll through of us going back and forth about like, Rush did it with 2112. Why can't we do it? And but then also like, but are we gonna scare people away when they see that the first track is 19 minutes? Is it gonna turn people off to it? Ultimately, what we ended up deciding was that our job as a band isn't necessarily to try to conform to any one preset structure that has been successful in the world. Like, we should do what feels best to us as artists, because ultimately that's where we've seen the most success. When we stop thinking too hard about what is everybody else going to think and just write the music that speaks to us and present our music in a way that makes sense to us, people receive it best because I think listeners are smart enough to know when something is genuine and when a band is excited about something that they're doing. And while I am extremely proud of every song on this new album, there is no song that to me shows our excitement and our passion for prog music than that first track. So yeah, ultimately it won out and we did the 2112 thing, release a 19-minute song and then so that first song kind of introduces all the themes of the album, and then each song after it is taking a smaller idea that was introduced within the first track and expanding upon it.
Well, exactly. It sets up the record perfectly. And talk a little bit about the lyrics that get introduced in that record because those themes, as you said, follow through. It seems like we're following you on a very personal faith journey.
Most definitely, yeah. And that was it was not originally by design. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to write about when I started writing the songs for this album. I just knew that I knew what I wanted the album to sound like. I didn't know what I wanted the subject matter of it to be. And as I started writing lyrics, the lyrics all I mean, this is a common thing as a lyricist. You write about what is going on in your life. It's just how it works. And over the last 5, 6 years, my wife and I have we've had this mutual journey away from our upbringing, away from the religion and culture that we were born into. And that is anybody who's gone through that knows it is exciting, it's terrifying, it makes you re-examine your entire existence and your place in the world. And there's a lot there's a lot to unpack and a lot to dissect and a lot to think about. And I'm anybody who knows me well will tell you I'm not a very outwardly emotional person. I don't, I don't wear my heart on my sleeve, so to speak. But it doesn't mean I don't feel things, and I do get emotional about things. And the way that it comes out for me is all through the music that I write, and therefore that's what this is. That's kind of the story of this whole album. You are right in your guess about the first song being kind of a almost like an allegory, like a journey of the journey that I've taken. Um, and yeah, I don't know that I would say the story is a direct story of my personal experiences, but it is very symbolic of the experiences that I've had. And yeah, that's kind of the way that the album came about. And interestingly, how I said the first track is all about the first track is kind of like a broad overview of everything, and then each subsequent track expands upon an idea that's introduced. It is the same way lyrically, where I'm telling a big story, and within that story, there are many little references to things. And then in the songs after that song for the rest of the album, they are taking those references and expanding those ideas into their full fleshed out thoughts.
Did you ever take a step back as you were writing it and sort of question, is this what I want to put out there? Is it too personal? Was there ever that kind of moment of doubt about the subject?
I think it's human nature to question yourself, especially when you are putting out art into the world, because art is at its core vulnerable and personal to the artist, to the creator. So yes, I would say there were those moments, but overall, you gotta just do what comes naturally and what is inspired. If I if I had decided no, this is too personal, this is too much, I need to lay off and write about something else. Um, I don't even know what I would have written about. And if I did write, it would have been certainly much less inspired. Going back to what I said earlier, I believe that listeners know when something is inspired and when something is something comes naturally, organically to the artist. I think you can feel that in the music.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, there were doubts, but I stand by my decision.
And considering the weight of the topics lyrically and the weight of these songs, I think it would have been real easy for the overall feel to become very dark.
Mhm.
But you keep it uplifting, and I think especially with the gorgeous closing track on the record, Animals. Was it important to you that, yeah, we're dealing with a heavy subject, but at the end, there's positivity, it's uplifting, there is always light there?
I've always been a firm believer in the idea that music should embody as many facets of life as it can, the dark, the light, the beauty, the sadness. And that's kind of where I ended up with this album that whether, what am I trying to say here? Specifically with the song Animals, as it is like this bookend for the album, um, I wanted to convey the idea that even if you spend all of the time assessing what you believe and is there a God, is there not a God, all of these philosophical and moral questions, even if you spend all this time and still don't come to any firm decisions for yourself on what this life is, can we not all at least agree that it is an incredible gift we've been given that we get to experience this life? What, for whatever reason we're here, whatever it is, be it divine, be it science, we are in this amazing world that is full of so much life and so much beauty and so much diversity. And yes, there's sadness, and yes, there's war, and there's anger, and there's violence, but there's also beauty. There's a balance in things. And that's kind of what I was trying to get across in that song. It's a really hard thing to convey lyrically, but I hope that the music at least conveys that idea.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without that, that's really well put because you get that listening to the record. So that,
Awesome.
yeah. And
Awesome.
now, I see on the website you do have a few album release dates set up. Will you guys be hitting the road at all this year?
We would love to. We really, the bottom line is that we're still a pretty small band. We have fans all over the country and even internationally. And we are so grateful to everybody who's helping us spread the word right now about our music. But the sad reality is that we're not yet big enough that we can do our own tours. And I aspire to get to that point. But if we were to tour right now across the country on our own, chances are we'd be playing to 5 to 15 people in each city that we play. And that's not sustainable financially for us. So, what we've kind of resorted to at the moment is that we are going to try our best to book a few shows across the country. It won't be a proper tour, but we just announced one in San Francisco that will be on June 13th. We have our official album release party on May 22nd in Salt Lake City. I'm trying to work on some stuff on the East Coast later on this year. Yeah, that's all I can say for now is that we're trying to get out there. We're trying our best. We really would love to get on lineups of more festivals in the United States and Europe. I feel like that's the best way for a band of our size to reach new ears, and to play for the fans who love us is to get on the festivals or potentially as an opener for a larger act, which we would also certainly love. But, these things take time and lots of building connections.
Well, and I think it's tough, especially for a young prog band, is there aren't a lot of those opening slots. When you look at
Nope.
some of the big prog bands, most of them don't take out openers because they're playing 3 hours a
I
night.
know, right?
So it's always tough, I think, for a young band like you guys to really break through because it's not like the old days where you put the package tour together and you go out and hit the road. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right. And when I see bands like Dream Theater, Haken, Porcupine Tree going out and doing these tours with no opener, I mean, as a fan, I'm excited because I want to go see Porcupine Tree and I want to watch them play 3 hours of their material. That's incredibly exciting to me. But as a band trying to break through in the world, there's this voice in the back of my head that's like, "Come on, Steven, why couldn't you just throw us a bone? Like give an opener a 20-minute set before you go on." But
Yeah.
who am I to argue? These guys are the masters. They've been doing it for decades. They know what they're doing. So, we just gotta work with what we're given. And I do very, very much hope that at some point we can get out and open for some larger acts and see the world and meet all these wonderful people who are finding out about us.
Now, I've read that you've mentioned in other interviews that you started working on Falling Together around the same time as A Cell to Call Home.
Mhm.
Have you already started working on the next project?
I have to be honest with you and say I have not. So all of the music for this new album came about very quickly. It was over the course of, well, okay, let me redact that slightly in that the music for this album, uh, yes, we began writing it during A Cell to Call Home. It was mostly that I was trying to write music for A Cell to Call Home, and every once in a while I would write a guitar riff or a keyboard part or a melody, and I would go, "Oh my gosh, this is incredible," but it didn't quite fit the timbre of A Cell to Call Home, so I kind of kept it in my back pocket, knowing that that was the foundation we would work on for this new album. And by the time we started on the new album, we had most of the parts for the song In a Lone and Dreary World, the 20-minute epic, written. So that song was mostly composed by the end of 2023. And then, but everything else, the other 6 tracks on the record, were all written in the span of about 4 to 5 months in 2024. It came so quickly, so naturally, so organically, but also it was almost this feeling of like I finished writing Animals. Animals was the last song that I wrote, and I finished that, and I took a breath and went, "Whoa, okay, that was a lot. That was emotionally draining, mentally and physically taxing. All the hours that I spent behind the computer, just clicking and clicking in Pro Tools, recording all the parts." It was overwhelming. It was a lot, and I had to take some time off. Around this would have been around like the beginning of 2025. I said, "Okay, I'm I'm gonna step back from writing right now because I know that once you reach this point of exhaustion as a songwriter, if you try to push yourself past that, it's really diminishing returns. And the last thing I want to do is write music that is subpar just for the sake of writing music. I want it to come naturally when it comes." So, yeah, short answer to that is no, we have not. But once this new album is out and I can kind of like step back from the whole release process that is currently a full-time job for me, I guarantee this summer I'm going to be going back up to the lake with Mike and sitting with a guitar, and the inspiration will come. Almost I'm almost 100% sure we will have music written by the end of this summer. How much music? I don't know. Could be one song, could be 20. It's whatever naturally comes.
Well, but I think there's an excitement to that because now you're going into the next project with a completely clear slate. It's not
Exactly.
like, okay, I already have this seed and we got to grow from there. So I think there's an excitement to doing it this way as well.
I think you're right. And also what you said at the beginning where it feels like this album is us kind of finding our sound and our formula. I agree with that. And I think it's exciting for me as a songwriter thinking about the process from here for writing whatever comes next in that I know that formula now. I can write music and apply that formula to it, and I feel like it's going to come a lot more quickly now than it has in the past. So yeah, I'm excited, very excited for whatever's after this.
We are too. Well, We've been spending some time here with Rylee McDonald. The band is called Advent Horizon. The record is Falling Together. It's out everywhere May 15th. Riley, best of luck with the record. I really enjoy it. I encourage everyone to give it a listen and discover a new favorite band.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Yeah.